Happy New Year, my beautiful friends. What an awesome few days it's been. We had a great Hogmanay celebration yesterday, and then we celebrated the New Year today with a huge Scottish breakfast. It didn't have all the parts because it didn't have everything, but it did have haggis, venison haggis, which I never had before, which was delicious. And then white pudding and some other things that are traditional. Because I think if you've watched the channel, you know that my oven died on Christmas Eve, and the motherboard went. Listen, I don't know why they complicate ovens, but gradually every day something new would happen. Like the first day it wouldn't shut off, so you had to unplug it. And then the second day the light wouldn't go off, and now the actual whole oven is locked. So we haven't been able to use our oven. So normally I would make steak pies along with our breakfast, because steak pies are traditional on New Year's Day, but without an oven, I'm not eating a steak pie made in a microwave. I don't even trust microwaves for popcorn, let alone steak pies. Anyway, it was a great day, and then my husband made pork and sauerkraut, which is his family's tradition, and then I made kulkan, and I'm never a huge fan of like pork made in sauerkraut because I'm not hugely crazy. If I eat a lot of sauerkraut because it's good for you, but it's not like my favorite thing in the world. So I always make like pan-seared pork chops and kulkan, which is an Irish dish of mashed potatoes and homemade mashed potatoes. Like I use my grandfather's masher, like, and my husband hands me like a new masher. I'm like, no, use Pop-Up's masher for these mashed potatoes. And then you make it with cabbage and onion and butter, and it's delicious. I'm well fed for a reason. Anyway, it was a great day, but the house is clean, and we hosted all the holiday events this year, starting at Thanksgiving, and I'm glad that Easter is far away, although it's early this year. It's in March, because we are festive. We have completed our festive season, but we have work to do because it's still the first day of the year. It's time for dreaming. We've been talking about dreaming, so I'm gonna pull some runes and ask Spirit to guide me into a writing meditation. I'm gonna write a letter to myself for the year. I had seen this, I don't know where, so I apologize to the source. I follow so many things, but it was to write a letter to your past self and write a letter to your future self. I didn't write the letter to my past self because I just didn't have time, and I need kind of time to think, and I actually handwrite the letters in my journal, so I didn't have that kind of time or space or even the fortitude to kind of put all that together. But I do want to take the time now to write a letter to the future, like what I would like to accomplish this year. Looking at my calendar, knowing what's coming up with Julian's surgery, knowing that I like to travel, so I'm going to Arizona later this week with my son, who really wants to go to Tombstone. He's really into westerns and stuff like that, so he's wanted to go there. And this is his first trip that he's funding as a person who has a full-time job. And then we'll travel, and it's really important that I go with him and do something before his brother has this surgery that's going to consume us all. So we're doing that, and then this summer I'm hoping to go to Canada to meet some special people that I've learned about recently. So I'm excited for the year, but I have goals of things that I want to do. The biggest theme for this year is I'm going to start letting go of some things. I have always been, since I was a little girl, just a person on fire, passionate about doing lots of different things, and I love to be busy. I don't like to sit still. If you watch the channel or you know who I am on Facebook, you know that I am always busy. I do try to live a very carpe diem lifestyle. I try to put light and love out into the world with volunteer service and all kinds of things, but with my son having his surgery, I'm going to need to step back from some things. Opportunities always come to me. If you don't know my story, my father was a steel worker. My mom was an at-home mom. We didn't have a lot of money. I put myself through school. I worked 3 jobs. I worked at Burger King, I worked at the Sheridan Jetport as a lifeguard, and I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken. And then I had like a 4th job because I worked on campus for work study. So I worked to put myself through school, and then because I was kind of naughty in high school, so I couldn't get scholarships or anything because I was a little naughty. So I worked really hard to get where I am. So I learned very early never to turn down opportunities because they open doors. So when I was in community college as a young adult, I had the opportunity to intern with Congress and then Senate, and then got a job with a congressman, and that opened a lot of doors. And then you know, I got accepted to grad school. Of course, my grades were great by then, so I got a teaching assistantship, and, you know, the rest is history. But I've always been a firm believer in not turning down opportunities, whether they're paid or free. You know, when God gives you a door and a window and opens it and says, here you go, like, if spirit or your higher power gives you opportunities, like, you should take them. And so I never really turn anything down. And I've learned over the course of my life, you know, I'm 51 now, sometimes you have to say no. I love doing all the things that I do. I love them all. So it's really hard when you put them on the plate, like, which one will I get rid of? Because I love them all. But I'm learning that I can say goodbye to them for now, and I can come back to them. And a really good example is piping. I had to say goodbye to piping when my son had a stroke in infancy. I had 2 infants because they were 10 months apart, because we don't do math well in our house. So I had to say goodbye to piping because it was just something I couldn't play every day. I couldn't practice my chanter. I couldn't afford it. Like, there were just so many things, you know, about, you know, the culture of piping and what you need to bring if you're going to be part of a band. Like, I couldn't commit to any of that. So I walked away from it, and I thought, I'm never going to ever do it again. And it broke my heart because I did come back to it. It's a big part of my life, and I didn't come back to it before my parents passed. And it would have made my mom so happy to know that I had come back to it. So because of my son's surgery, I'm going to have to step back and just say, I'm taking a break right now because this is my focus. He is my focus. I will be back, you know, and if I really truly care about things, I will be back to them. And it's okay. It's okay to walk away. Sometimes we feel like if we walk away, it'll never come back again. If it's meant to be, Spirit will bring it back again when it's right for you. So, that's what my letter is going to be about. It's just like planning out the year, setting some really realistic goals that I can measure. You know, like, it's, you know, like, you say, like, I'm going to be nicer to people. Well, how do you actually measure that? Like, how nice are you now? Right? And that's sort of my academic scientific brain. Like, you know, you want, like, you know, I want to learn a new recipe a month. Well, you can chart that, right? You can say, okay, well, I'm going to learn this new family recipe, or I'm going to learn how to make this thing. And then once a month you do it, and then you journal about it, right? And then you can look back at the end of the year and say, I learned 12 new recipes, or whatever, once a week, or I'm going to learn how to quilt or sew, or I'm going to learn a yodel. I am not going to learn how to yodel. So let's see if Spirit has any guidance for us on what we should focus on in that letter too, in addition to the things that we think Spirit is leading us in. And it's always hard to discern, like, what is me and what is Spirit, like, what is my nonsense, because sometimes I can be nonsensical. My focus for this past year was to not allow other people's, I don't know what the word is. I don't want to say bad behavior because I don't mean it that way. I don't allow other people's drama to impact me. So when they're having their drama and they're being narcissistic, I have one person who's super, super narcissistic in my life. I don't let that energy drain me anymore. There was a time when I would be so upset because I had made a promise to my father, and I would be so upset because, like, you know, now I'm in a quandary. I'm good. I just walk away from that energy. I don't let it, I sort of fused an armor, and I sort of, like, I still care. I still do things and acts of caring. This person probably doesn't recognize them as such, but they are. I know that they are the best actions to help the person. I cannot change their behavior that has been a lifetime of 80 years. So I'm not going to change it, and I'm not going to try. I can do the best that I can with the tools that I have, and I can walk away and know that I did what I could do. And I don't need to hold on to it further than that. Right? So, we have our green man. We have our Iona stones. These are from the Inner Hebrides of Scotland, on a tiny little 3-mile island called Iona. It's where the Druid College once stood, and St. Columba came over from Ireland because he had done something naughty over in Ireland. So he got, you know, like, you can go be a good guy, but go be a good guy over there. And so he came over and he worked with the Druids and Christianized, you know, brought Christianity to them. And for a long time, Christians and Druids lived together in peace. And that, of course, changes over time, doesn't it? So, see, we're going to just do one pull, Spirit, one thing that should help us, guide us as we write our letter to ourselves about what we want to happen this year, so we can reflect on it next year on New Year's Eve. Okay, there we go. I will be right back and let you know what I think that means. So, I need to remember to tell you what the stone is before I start thinking about it. This is Mannaz. So, excuse me, I have to sneeze. I'm going to pause so I can sneeze. All right, sorry about that. So, Mannaz is all about humanity. And this really is going to be a year for us to be kind to each other. I worked for Congress and Senate, as I mentioned earlier. I was an intern for a congressman and a senator, and then I worked for a congressman. And what I learned as an intern, and the reason I'm not a politician, is that I don't have a heart for it. I don't have a heart for politics. I think that people are very tied to their opinions and beliefs, and there was a time, perhaps, in our culture when we could share with one another what we felt politically. I feel like in recent years, and not tied to any specific person, we have lost the ability to have conversations about issues that are important to us. And so in a presidential year, no matter who's running, it's always contentious. And it seems that that has gotten worse over the years. And I'm not going to finger point at anybody because I'm not political. I don't belong to either of the political parties that are mainstream in the United States. So they're not my candidates, none of them. So I don't comment on it. That came because I worked in the system and was disenchanted by it. This is going to be a year where we have to be compassionate. There's going to be a lot of angry people. People care very much about their candidates. They care very much about their opinions. They care very much about how they see the world. And that is going to color everybody's year, and whether you want it to or not. And so I think that's absolutely the message from Spirit, is just that we who are in the community of light and love are going to have to turn up our bulbs. Really, we're going to have to be as bright as we can be to counteract the darkness, because, darkness is, darkness is already here, right? And it just gets worse when people are arguing. And so we're just going to have to turn up our volume on our light, be light and love, be examples of how you can have opinions and you can believe things about things, and you don't have to be nasty or mean, call names. You don't have to use foul language. We can talk about issues. We have a lot of issues in our world, and we need to talk about them. We need to sort them out and find solutions. And we don't find solutions by calling each other names. So that is going to be something. The Humanity Stone is definitely something that is going to color the year for all of us. And thinking of ways to not get caught up in the insanity of it all. So let's see if the cards have anything additional to add, shall we? All right. We're looking at Celtic Spirit first with 3 shuffles. I don't follow politics much. My husband does, and he gets all kinds of opinionated. And then my son does, and he gets all kinds of opinionated, and they do not agree. So in our house, we have to practice what we preach, with, expressing views with kindness and support. All right. 3 passes. See if Spirit has anything else to add. Spirit's smacking me with cards. Spirit has stuff to say. Which is Spirit? I'm gonna do this one. This one flew out. The white stag, shape-shifting support in other worlds. You're going to have to really rely on the strength of the other world. I've been doing a lot of work in this area lately. I did this great, and I talked about it in one of my videos. I had done a like a workshop one night, and because I never could figure out how to get to the other world. Like, how do you do that? Like, I don't know. Like, is there an elevator? Like, where? And she did a meditation, which I'm not really all that good at those, but this one actually worked, and I figured like a way that I kind of go into like a space that that I'm learning more about. So I think that's something that I'm going to work on more this year, which is something I would have written down anyway, but just encouragement from Spirit that I need to work more on that. Let's see what else. This one hit me in the face. So let's see. Shaman Spiral. Awareness, practice, connection. So connecting with other like-minded people, being aware, creating practices and doing things that help connect people, especially in a year that's potentially turbulent in our culture. All right. What else, Spirit? Anything else? We're going to look at Shadows of Light next and see what they have to say. If the Spirit has anything to add. I'd love to know what you would include in your letters if you're planning on writing one, or if you aren't going to write one, but you can think about things that you would add to one if you did write one. Goals that you have. Remember, this is a time of dreaming, not a time of resolution. So it's okay if you don't, people make resolutions. I'm going to lose 50 pounds. Then they feel bad because they gained 5 because they just ate like 25 kiffles. Like, don't, this isn't the astronomical time to be making resolutions. It's time for dreaming. So what do you want to dream about? All right, 3 passes. Let's see if Spirit has anything to add. Oh boy. Pass 2. Pass 2. And pass 3. Well, that came out, so these 3 came out together. So vulnerability, the fawn, alignment, and sovereignty. So in a year when you have your beliefs, whatever they are, politically, you have your beliefs, you can feel very vulnerable because people will, even religiously or spiritually, this is true across the board when it comes to things of heart, matters of the heart, right? Which I consider politics and religion and spirituality, all matters of the heart. You can feel really alone, and I do feel that, as I've spoken about this before in the channel, because I've left a standard denomination. I kind of do my own thing. I'm still Christian, but I do my own thing. You can feel very vulnerable, and it takes it takes alignment. But who's the alignment with? It's with you and whatever your higher power is. It's you and God. It's you and Jesus. It's you and a goddess or whomever you are aligned with. Whatever your higher source is, that's who you align to. You don't have to align to your neighbor down the street or your best friend or your spouse or partner, right? You align with your higher source. And that gives you self-empowerment. That gives you sovereignty. You're aligning with the right things. You are going to feel vulnerable. You're going to feel like you're out here all by yourself like a fawn, like a baby fawn. But if you align yourself with the right things, you will have sovereignty. You'll have control over what's going on. The second card that came out, this came out alone, was now, which is that carpe diem idea that you want to seize the moment. Like, seize the moment now. We're not promised any more moments than this one. So seize this moment. And then finally, challenge and opposition. Expect it. No, people aren't going to agree with you. Know that people are not going to agree with how you see the world, religiously, spiritually, politically. People aren't going to agree with you. You know what? It's okay. That's no harm to you. What they believe about the world is there on them. Your path is your path. And you don't have to justify your path to other people, as long as you're not hurting anybody, as long as you're not doing anything illegal or unethical, right? You don't have to justify your path to them. And You don't have to convince them to be on your path. It's one of the reasons I like the Druidic philosophy. Our job is to help other people on their path so far as we can, but our job is not to judge a path of another. So if they don't agree with you, you love them, you send them light and love, and you don't engage, right? Okay, so interesting cards from Spirit today. We look toward this new year, right? There's going to be challenges. There's always challenges. Somebody, my friend Nav wrote a quote that we had from our writing thing today, like without, I don't remember what the quote was exactly, but like without, stuff that goes wrong, there's no story, right? Like the stories come from when things go wrong. And my son and I were talking, we always go away for New Year's, or we have for the past maybe 10 or so years. We go somewhere different every year. And the one year we went to Boston and it was freezing. They ended up canceling everything. He ended up getting super sick. My kids never get sick. Our bank card got locked because it was at that point in time when the banks were starting to lock your card if you didn't tell them you were traveling, and we didn't know that. And so we're on New Year's Eve trying to get them to unlock his card. My card ended up working, but it was ridiculous. And we were talking about just memories. That's the one that stood out because it's such a great story now with all the shenanigans that happened. Without something happening, there's no story. See if with Earth Wisdom, if there's I wasn't paying attention for that shuffle. If Earth Wisdom has anything to share with us. Let's do 3 passes. That's one. Pass 2. Oh. Pass 3. First one is truth. Always maintain your truth, the truth. Always be true, right? As you go through the year, don't get backed into having to not be true. Especially when people start talking about politics. If you don't like talking about politics, as I do not, I just say, you know what? I don't belong to any major party. I'm going to let you all talk about this. I'm gonna head over there and, get a water or something. I just walk away. And I'm real honest about it. I don't want to talk about politics with people. I know what I believe, right? I don't shy away from politics. I don't shy away from my beliefs. I just shy away from getting in arguments with people because you're not going to convince people about certain things. I am always willing to listen to discourse, but not everybody is. So I'm not going to argue with you over your beliefs, but people will argue with me over mine. So I disengage. I walk away. Coward of the county. Second card is go with the flow. I get this card a lot. I do. I just go with the flow, and I'm just like, you know what? I come from, my mother was very, very politically active, and my brother is very politically active, and everybody in our family has, both sides of the family have very divergent opinions, and, every dinner becomes political, and I have had to learn over the years to just, in the words of Frozen, let it go. I just let it go because I don't want to engage in that kind of nonsense because it doesn't serve my highest good. It may serve your highest good. Maybe political conversations do serve your highest good. And if that is the case, then feel empowered to have conversations about that. So I am going to go and I'm going to write my letter now. And I hope that you take an opportunity to think about what you want to plan for the year and goals and dreams that you have set. Remember, their dreams are not set in stone, so you don't have to feel bad at the end of the year if you didn't finish them. But dream big. I am wishing you all the best of light and love for 2024. Take care. Be well. Bye-bye.